Monday. It's Monday morning, people. Holy crap, it's almost 10 o'clock. I'm getting a really late start. I've been working on some other stuff. I'm trying to figure out how I want to word this. You know that I've really never wanted to be a true crime channel, but it seems like sometimes you're steered in a different direction. Now, I like doing my funny videos and stuff like that, but I have had actually quite a few people ask me to keep looking into cases, keep doing crime stuff. And I guess with my background, it's kind of a natural thing for me to do something like that, even though that's really not what I started my channel for. I think I may be forced into migrating that direction. Not that I would ever let anybody force me into doing anything, because I can be a stubborn butt. And nobody can force me into doing anything. But at the same time, I want to make this channel interesting for you guys. I know that the different videos that people respond to the most have been the ones about Kylie and that type of thing, and in the true crime genre. Now, I really don't have anything more to add right now about Kylie's case, even though people have asked me to speak some more about it. I really don't have anything else right now, unlike some people who claim to have information that they do not have. We won't mention any names, Jeff. I don't have anything else right now. I mean, I have some things I could tell you about, but I don't know that they would add to the case, and they would be just pretty much just gossipy type stuff. If any of that information ever becomes relevant, I will be glad to tell you everything I know. But what I've decided to do, and people give me some feedback on this. I really haven't been getting a lot of feedback on my videos lately, and it's like 2 or 3 comments. It's like, seriously? So it just shows that there's a total lack of interest in what I enjoy doing. Even though I enjoy doing it, nobody else, there's a few people that seem to be interested in it, but that's about it. But I want my channel to reach a lot of people. I want my channel to bless a lot of people, and I want my information that I have to be relevant and to be interesting to you. Basically, the people that I've gathered originally, to my channel were people who are into the Kylie Rodney case, people who are into true crime. So that seems to be where your interests lie. And even though, I'm still going to make my funny videos and stuff like that, but I also want to make things interesting for you. Because the viewers and the subscribers are the ones who basically keep the ball rolling on the channel. And so what I've decided to do, I think I've started to tell you this 3 times and keep distracting myself. What I've decided to do is I'm going to start a new series. And it's simply called Crime Stories. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over cases. Now, some of them, like this first one that we're going to look at today, actually got quite a bit of national attention. It was on Unsolved Mysteries and some other programs on television. But this is an incident that happened over 30 years ago and has never been solved. And so those are kind of the things that I want to go over. Some people have asked me to look into some other current cases, which I plan to do also. And if there's any specific case you'd like me to look into, leave me a comment, because I'd have to go back through and search the comments, and who knows what video that they're under. So if you have asked me to look into a case, leave a comment here and let me know again, because that would save me a lot of time searching, because who knows if I'd ever find them again. So anyway, this case that we're looking at today, and it's appropriate. I always get the itchies when I get on here. I'm allergic to one of you. But it's appropriate that I'm wearing my Kansas City hat, because this first one that we're going to look at occurred in a little town southeast of Kansas City. And hopefully you will find it extremely interesting. It's one of those that I would absolutely love to be solved, because I believe that the perpetrator got away with it scot-free, and who knows if he's even still alive. But if there's a way that us YouTubers, because us YouTubers are pretty good at solving stuff and coming up with ideas, aren't we? Aren't we, Lindsay? Aren't we, Sammy? Aren't we, Nevada County and Placer County? We're pretty good. Anyway, let's get into this first story. I'm going to have it complete with the intro, and just tell me what you guys think about, first of all, me starting this series, whether it's a worthwhile endeavor or just a waste of time, if you would enjoy it, and also what you think of the video. All right, so let's get into it. Vanished. The Angela Hammond missing persons case. The Angela Hammond missing persons case is a haunting tale of a young woman who vanished without a trace on the night of April 4th, 1991 in Clinton, Missouri. Angela was abducted while talking to her boyfriend on a payphone. Her case remains unsolved to this day and has become one of the most well-known missing persons cases in American history. Angela Hammond was just 20 years old when she was abducted. On the night of April 4th, 1991, she was talking to her boyfriend, Rob Schaefer, on a payphone near a grocery store in Clinton, Missouri. During their conversation, Angela suddenly screamed and said that a man had approached her car with a knife. Rob heard her struggle and then heard her scream again before the phone went dead. The police immediately launched an investigation into Angela's disappearance, but they were unable to find any clues or suspects. Witnesses reported seeing a suspicious-looking man in the area around the time of the abduction, but no one could identify him. Over the years, several leads have emerged, but none have led to Angela's whereabouts. Her case remains open and continues to be investigated by law enforcement agencies. Over the years, many theories and speculations have emerged about what happened to Angela Hammond. Some believe that she was kidnapped by a serial killer who was active in the area at the time. Others speculate that she was the victim of a random act of violence or that she was targeted because of her relationship with Rob Schaefer. Despite those theories, the truth about what happened to Angela remains a mystery. The Angela Hammond missing persons case is a tragic reminder of the dangers that exist in the world. It is also a testament to the strength and resilience of Angela's family, who have never given up hope of finding her. As time goes on, it becomes less likely that Angela will be found alive, but her family continues to hold out hope that they will one day find closure and justice for their beloved daughter. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to read some excerpts from some of the articles that I found on this case, just trying to read through and familiarize myself with it. So bear with me as I read through this, and I'm going to make a little bit of commentary as I go along. I'm just kind of winging it because I found that a lot of times when I try to write everything out, it just doesn't flow, or it sounds mechanical. So I'm just going to read through it, and when a thought hits me, because there are several things in here that make me wonder about things. So anyway, it says, according to the FBI, every year police departments across the country record more than 500,000 people as missing. Actually, I've read other places where it's more like 1 million. So take your pick. Either way, it's a lot of freaking people that go missing every year. In some situations, a person is found either living or deceased, but often some of these missing cases can go unsolved for years. That fact holds true for the case of Angela Hammond. About 30 years ago, actually it's more like 32 now, a 4-month pregnant Hammond went missing. And still to this day, there has been no sign of her, no trace, nor evidence leading to where she might be. Her whereabouts are a complete mystery. A year after her disappearance, Hammond's story was featured on the true crime mystery show Unsolved Mysteries. The segment detailed what happened to her, but since the decades-old airing of the show, no tips have helped lead to the solving of the cold case. The disappearance and murder of 2 other Missouri women around the, I guess he should say the same time, around the time she vanished were linked. I guess it helps if I read it all first. But many theories fizzled out. The story of Angela Hammond's disappearance started on the night of April 4th, 1991. That evening, the 20-year-old was abducted from a payphone while talking to her fiancé, Rob Schaefer. The abduction shocked her small Clinton, Missouri town. Just before her kidnapping, she parked her car to make the call at a phone booth. This was before cell phones became popular, obviously. While talking with her fiancé, she informed him of a suspicious pickup truck that was continuously driving around the booth. Her suspicions grew more when the driver of the truck parked his vehicle beside hers, and he got out, seemingly searching with a flashlight. Unsuspecting of what was about to happen next, Hammond described the man's physical appearance and his truck details to her fiancé. Now, can you imagine being Rob? That's assuming he wasn't involved in this. I do have my suspicions on that, which we will get into. But let's say he's totally innocent. Can you imagine being on the phone with your fiancé and all of a sudden she gets attacked and you're hearing it over the phone? Now, a little information here about Clinton, Missouri. Now, this information is from the census from 2021, so it's a couple years old, although I doubt it has changed much. Population 8844. Not super, super small, not like Mayberry small, but, or even here small, where I live. But still not very big, less than 10,000 people. That's considered a small town. And it's kind of out of the way. Let's see where it is here. This is from Google Maps. Now, you see Kansas City up in the upper left, and then as you go down southeast, you see little Clinton. I didn't measure to see how far it was from Kansas City, but it is quite a ways. It's in a very woodsy area. I went to college in Springfield, Missouri for a year, and I can tell you for certain that whole area down there, in the area around Clinton and so forth, very woodsy. There are a lot of places to hide a body, and to hide it to where it could never be found. Especially if she was taken some distance from Clinton and then buried in the woods somewhere. Which, that's what I honestly think happened. I think she was just taken out in the woods, probably assaulted, and then buried. It says, in just a few short moments, Hammond was heard screaming on the phone, and her fiancé, who was just several blocks away, sped to the location. Hammond was likely taken by the driver of the truck en route to the scene. However, Schaefer reportedly passed the truck Hammond had previously described to him until he heard her scream and call out his name. In his quick reaction, he swiftly turned his car around and began to chase after the truck, purportedly with his fiancée inside. Unfortunately, his sudden switch of gears totaled his vehicle's transmission, and the car was unable to complete the pursuit. Hammond was never seen after that. Now here's a picture off of another website called Uncovered, where it shows the location of the payphone, and it shows the route that they went, and it shows where Rob's vehicle conked out on him. All right, so it says, next article, says authorities in Clinton, Missouri are hoping an old piece of evidence can generate new leads in an unsolved case. Angela, or she went by Angie, Hammond was kidnapped 30 years ago on April 4th, 1991. It changed what our community was like when this happened. Nothing had happened like this before, said Clinton Police Captain Paul Abbott. Hammond was talking on a payphone to her boyfriend, Rob Schaefer, in the parking lot of a grocery store the night she was taken. She was able to describe the man in the vehicle he was in to Schaefer before vanishing. The 20-year-old woman was 4 months pregnant, would never be heard from again. It would be difficult for one single person to pull this off, said Abbott. Police believe that the abduction may have been planned. It's like something you can't let go of because someone here needs an answer, said Abbott. He has been working Hammond's case since 2006. He believes she was mistaken for another person also named Angela. This Angie's father had been involved in a case where he was a confidential informant. This was a pretty significant narcotics case that probably disrupted some pretty significant drug business, he explained. He says it's a theory that has evolved over time. Revisiting the case file again for the third or fourth time, we ran across this lead from very early on in the investigation, he said. Abbott is referring to a letter written using letters cut out of a magazine print, was postmarked April 4th, 1991, the day Hammond went missing. A few months ago, an anonymous caller left a voicemail, was left at the precinct, and details involving that letter. I would really be interested in having a conversation with that person. It can completely be anonymous. It can be a telephone conversation. I can protect their identity. I can guarantee that. He says he's hoping that by talking to this person, he can break down a wall and possibly break the case wide open. If we refute this information, that's great. If it leads us in the right direction, that's even better, he said. Abbott says this is just one of many legs of his investigation. He says he will exhaust all possibilities in his search for Hammond. This has not been a cold case as far as I'm concerned, and it's not going to be, he explained. The Clinton police first released that letter to the public earlier this month on social media. Authorities say it has increased interest in the case. They are asking anyone with information to contact them. Going by Angie instead of Angela, Angie Hammond was just beginning some of the most significant milestones in her life. She was a college freshman taking classes at Central Missouri State University and also working as a bank clerk. In November 1990, she began dating Rob Schaefer. This is Schaffner, but the other one said Schaefer. It's S-H-A-F-E-R. This one says S-H-A-F-N-E-R. Well, there's also some other typos in this article, so I'm going to go with Schaefer. He began dating Rob, the high school senior star athlete who was preparing for a career in the military. By all accounts, the two were absolutely smitten with each other. By January of 1991, Angie shares with Rob that she's pregnant, and Rob couldn't be more excited. Soon after, Rob gets down on one knee and the pair were engaged. 4 months later, on April 4th, Angie and Rob attended a family barbecue hosted at Angie's mother's house. The pair left around 9 p.m. and Angie drove Rob over to his family's house so Rob could babysit his younger brother. Angie spent part of the night driving around town talking with a friend, and after she dropped her friend off at the house, Angie stopped at a payphone in the middle of town to call Rob at 11:15 p.m. Now, I find that interesting. Why she stopped at a payphone if he was only a few blocks away, as it said in that other article? That makes absolutely no sense to me. If he was only a few blocks away, you'd think she would just stopped by and seen him instead of calling him. Something to think about. While on the phone with Rob, Angie says that she sees a green truck that kept circling the block. The truck eventually pulled into the parking lot and parked right next to Angie and the payphones. The driver got out, and Angie told Rob that the male driver was dirty looking and that he had a full mustache and beard. She also told Rob that the man had glasses on and was wearing overalls. Angie could also make out a decal that covered the back window of the truck, which depicted the scene of a fish jumping out of the water. So if this guy was an outdoorsman and he was from the area, he would know all kinds of places to hide the body. He probably knew that whole area like the back of his hand. It says not long after, Rob hears Angie scream into the phone. Terrified, Rob gets in his car and speeds over to the center of town to the payphone where Angie called from. While on his way there, Rob saw a green truck speeding past him going the other direction, and he heard a female voice scream, "Rob!" from inside the truck. Rob instantly spun his car around to chase after the truck, but in completing an intense reverse turnaround, he inadvertently damaged his transmission. Rob could only chase after the truck for 2 miles before a sharp right turn on West Calvert Drive stalled his car. Angie was never seen again. Police believe Angie was most likely murdered. Yeah, I would say that since she's been missing for 30 years, that's the definitely. In the week of Angie's abduction, Rob was cleared of any suspicion by law enforcement, and a few local witnesses came forward saying they saw the green truck lurking around the town in the days leading up to April 4th. The subsequent investigation took detectives in many directions. Some speculate that Angie's abduction is related to 2 other young women who vanished in less than a 100-mile radius in the early months of 1991, Trudy Darby and Cheryl Kinney. In 2021, the police held a press conference and unveiled another theory. The abductor from 1991 took the wrong Angela. It was revealed that in the town of Clinton, a man was working undercover for the narcotics team of the police department, and the man's cover was seemingly blown. A ransom note postmarked for the morning of April 4th, 1991, the day Angie was taken, details another family's intentions to abduct their daughter, Angela. Now, police are looking for the public's help to hopefully identify the suspect from 1991. They're also asking for whoever submitted an anonymous tip in early 2021 regarding the ransom note to come forward so the conversation can be furthered. Okay. Here are my thoughts. I'd really like to know, first of all, this Rob Schaefer, what his connection is with the local police department there. Does he have any relatives working there? Does he have any people who would cover up for him? Because to be honest with you, as I'm reading through this, my first thought is that he's involved. I'm not saying he is. I'm not accusing him of anything. I'm just giving you my opinion. And my opinion is he was involved. First of all, it says that he was only a few blocks away and he sped down there and got down there before the truck even took off, or it at least had left the area. That doesn't make any sense that she would stop at a payphone and call him when she's only a few blocks away. Okay, now it may be totally legit, but it just seems kind of strange to me that she would stop at a payphone and call him. It makes me wonder why she stopped at that payphone. Why did she stop at the payphone instead of just driving the extra few blocks and going right to Rob and saying goodnight? After all, she's his fiance. They obviously have a pretty close relationship, and she wouldn't have any problem showing up, knocking on the door and saying, hey, I just wanted to say goodnight in person. Give him a goodnight kiss, and then go. Why did she stop at that payphone? I really would like to see the police file on this. And I'd also like to know how it was that they cleared Rob. Because here, to be honest with you people, here's the things that bother me about this. She stops at this payphone. And I don't know how long of a conversation it was with Rob. I wouldn't imagine, since she's saying goodnight, I would imagine it probably wasn't too long of a conversation. I mean, if she wanted to have an involved conversation, again, she could have driven to where he was. It was only a few blocks away. So why did she call him from this payphone? Did Rob ask her to call him from that payphone? Was there a reason that he had her stop at that payphone, or is there a reason that she stopped at that payphone instead of going the extra few blocks to where he was? Because obviously it didn't take Rob too long to get down there. Also, he was supposed to be babysitting his brother, but he got down there within just a few minutes, apparently. So that's the first issue I have. I would really like to know how they cleared him. Secondly, he gets down there, the truck takes off. Normally, once a vehicle is recognized, I would think that the guy dump her out, get out of here and take off. And just leave it at that. Why go completely through with murdering her, which I'm sure that the guy did? Why go to those extremes? Also, it says Rob chased him for 2 miles, but throwing his car from reverse into drive says it grinded his transmission. Now, I can tell you for a fact that I have done that more than once, where I'm going along and I was like, shooting, I'm in a hurry, and I'm like, and it grinds it. But it didn't damage my transmission. There was a couple times I was wondering. Now, there is a possibility that could be the case, that he was frantic, trying to chase the guy, so he rams it into reverse and rams it into drive while it's still moving, and it ground his gears. But here's the thing. It just seems a little convenient to me that here he is chasing the guy, and then after 2 miles, his car conks out. Now, I wish I was more of a mechanic. Maybe those of you who are more mechanical than me First of all, I kind of like to know what kind of vehicle it was that he was driving. Said it was a car and not a truck. So, who knows? Some type of sedan. But if he actually did grind his transmission so bad, would it allow him to drive 2 miles before it conked out? Because according to that map we looked at, here I'll bring that map up again. According to the map, it went around a corner and then died. Now, it could be that all of this is totally legit, but it just seems awfully coincidental that she's at this payphone in a town where nothing like this has ever happened before. A small town of 8,800 people, and probably less back then. This is 30 years ago. Probably more like 5,000 or 6,000. That's just a guess. I don't know. I should have looked it up. I'm sorry. I think about things after I start recording that I should have done. I do that all the time. But she's at this payphone, all of a sudden this guy shows up. Now, keep in mind, she was 4 months pregnant. And it said that when Rob found out, he was excited. Now, was he? Or was he just putting on an act? Says he was getting ready for a military career. Would he see a wife and a child as a hindrance to that? You wouldn't think so, but you never know. So here she is. She's 4 months pregnant. She just happens to stop at this payphone, and right then this guy shows up. Now, they talk about this other theory, that it was the wrong Angie. I don't see how, in a town that small, I don't buy that at all. Says they got this note. Well, what if the people involved, and let's say that perchance Rob was involved and his buddy or whoever it is that he had help with doing this. The policeman said that this couldn't have been just a one-man operation. I don't know why it couldn't have been, but that's what he said. I don't know. To me, yeah, it could easily be a one-man operation. But I don't know all the facts of the case, so I'll go by what he said. So, we got this ransom note. Of course, it was not written in anybody's handwriting. It was one of those, ones you see on the movies. What if that was sent as a distraction? To make them think it was another Angie. To take the suspicion off of Rob and his friends. And make them think that it was a hot lead, when in reality, it's just a ploy. My eye itches. My gut feeling on it, okay, when I first read this, and just after reading it before, reading what happened, reading the facts of the case, the narrative, after reading that, the first thing that popped in my mind was he set her up. Of course, I'm naturally suspicious, so that's me. But the fact that she could have gone to see him, but instead she stopped at a payphone. She's on the phone with Rob, and this guy shows up. Rob gets down there, makes it look like he's trying to save her, chasing the guy. And then 2 miles, after chasing him for 2 miles, his car conks out. Way too many coincidences and way too many conveniences. Now, just because the police say that they cleared him, we know that many times that kind of statement is made to make the suspect feel like they can relax, right? We've talked about that in Kylie's case. They can make, with Jagger, you make the suspect relax and maybe make a mistake. Maybe slip up and say something to somebody. Maybe slip up in some other way. It's just too convenient for me to believe that it's just a random act. Now, the one thing I guess that would argue for it being a random act was the fact that 2 other women went missing in the same time frame. So it very well could be a crime of opportunity. This serial killer who was involved in the disappearance of these 2 other women just happened to drive by, sees this good-looking young girl, 20 years old, pretty, on a payphone. That's pretty brazen, though. It really is. Of course, who knows? These serial killers, they're generally not that brazen, though. They really aren't. Generally, serial killers try to do things sneakily, and we wouldn't call this being very sneaky. She's on the phone where, obviously, he would know that if she sees him out there skulking around, that she would be describing him to her fiance or to whoever she was on the phone with. So, to me, it may be just a little too brazen for it to be a serial killer. Now, I'm not saying it couldn't be. This guy could have balls of steel or whatever, that doesn't care. But I go back to the statement saying that the police cleared Rob of all wrongdoing. I assume they examined the vehicle and confirmed that it couldn't run. Now, if that's the case, then I find Rob's story feasible. But I couldn't find anything other than the fact that they cleared him. I couldn't find anything that said that they examined the vehicle and found out, oh yeah, he's right, it didn't run. I don't see anything like that. Also, what's Rob's standing in the community? What's his family standing in the community? Are they rich? Are they poor? Are they a family that would be covered up for? And I don't care if this happened 30 years ago or not. If the killer's still alive, he needs to be brought to justice. And this could be one of those cases that it's never going to happen unless somebody could take Rob out behind an alley and say, look, you tell me the truth or I'm going to shoot you in the head. But we don't want to do that. And get sick Dolly on him. Got there with her knife. Skin him. Threatened to skin him anyway. Along with Jeffy Pooh. So what do you guys think? If you guys want to study it on your own, there's a lot of articles online. Just look up the Angela Hammond missing persons case and you'll find all kinds of information on it. And if you find something, if you come across something that talks about the vehicle and that they examined the vehicle and that was part of the criteria that they used to clear Rob, give me the link so I can go look at it and I can do an update on this. But I'm going to start trying to do one of these. Now, I like to do one a day, but I don't know that I'm going to be able to do that, but at least several a week. this is the first one that I came across that really struck me. And I really felt kind of a connection with because of the circumstances. So anyway, that's it for this episode of Crime Stories. Let me know your thoughts. Talk to you later.